Okay, right. Let's get to JAMB 2003 question, and it was question number 3. It says simplify square root of 98 minus square root of 50 divided by square root of 32. Can you pause the video, try to solve it, and let's compare our answers together as usual? Come on, go ahead and do it. Okay, so to solve this, we are tempted to just go ahead and rationalize, right? But I wouldn't want you to rationalize it first, because if you rationalize, the numbers here are too big. So don't rationalize it first. So next, what you need to do is for you to think how to break each of these numbers into smaller number. And starting with this first one here that we have of square root of 90, we need to break down each of them into smaller numbers. So you ask yourself a question: which number can I multiply with 2 to have 98? Which number can I multiply with 2 to have 98? And that number is 49. The number is 49. So this now will become 49 times 2. That we are replacing 98 with 49 times 2. Okay, so we've been able to break down 98 down, to break it down, and then we are going to now get to the next number. The next number is 50. So you ask yourself a question: which number can I multiply with 2 to give me 50? Okay, so that number simply is 25. So you now have it as 25 times 2. 25 times 2 will give us 50. Good. So we do the same thing to 82. So you ask yourself a question: which number can I multiply with 2? It can be any number, right? It can be any number. If you look for a number with 2 and it's not possible, get to 3. Look for a number you can multiply with 3. If not possible, keep going like that. All right, and ensure that the number that you are multiplying with is a perfect square. All right, so now for 32, the number there will be 16 times 2. 16 times 2. 16 times 2 will give us 32. Okay, now if you observe something, each of this number that we are multiplying with 2, they are all perfect squares, right? Yes, they are. So ensure that the number you're multiplying with 2 or the number you're multiplying with 3 is a perfect square. All right, so let's keep solving now. Let's keep solving. And now 49. What's the square root of 49? The square root of 49 is 7. So we had 49 out of the square root. Now, what's the square root of 2? Okay, 2 does not have a square root, so the square root of 49 is 2. 2 does not have a square root, so we just the square root sign remains for 2. The square root sign remains for 2. So okay, we proceed with the next one, and we come to 25. What's the square root of 25? Okay, square root of 25 is 5. So we have here as 5. We have there as 5. Okay, now 2 does not have a square root, so we just we bring the square roots of 2 down. 2 square root down. All right, and you're making progress. And we're going to do the same thing for our denominator here. And denominator, the square root of 16 is what? Square root of 16 is 4. And of course 2 doesn't have a square root, so we're just going to write it down: square root of 2. Square root of 2. All right, and now solving this out here, we subtract, because this is square root of 2, this is square root of 2, so we can subtract. So 7 minus 5 will give us 2, and of course the square root comes. So 2 square root of 2, you have it back. And we have it for the denominator, 4 square root of 2. So okay, so we have this. And the square root here that we have here are just like coefficients. So you can cancel out square root, you cancel out square root. Okay, and then we now divide this. 2 cancel itself 1 time, and 2 comes into 4 2 times. So the answer we have now will be equal to 1 all over 2. That's the answer, 1 all over 2. Okay, so checking in our option, that is option B. So option B is the correct option. That was the correct option for that 2003 question 3 JAMB. All right, so this was the question we were given. We were given this question, and we were tempted to just rationalize, but because the numbers are too big, we need to overcome that temptation first. Let's not rationalize it immediately, and let's break it down. So breaking it down, we look for numbers that we can multiply with 2 so that we can have each of these numbers, and we also have in mind that the number we're going to multiply with 2 should be a perfect square. If that number is not a perfect square, then we can try to use 3 to multiply with a number that is a perfect square. Now, but we were lucky, each of these numbers were perfect squares, because that we multiply with 2, they were all perfect squares. So like 49 is a perfect square, and 49 times 2 will be 98. Same thing with 50. 25 times 2 will be 50. Same thing with 32. 16 times 2 will be 32. So multiplying this, now solve for, find their square root. The square root of 49 is 7, and 2 doesn't have a square root, so it remains in the square root. Minus square root of 25 is 5, and 2 does not have a square root, it remains in the square root. Good. Square root of 16 is 4, and 2 does not have a square root, so it remains in the square root. Now this can subtract. 7 into square root of 2 minus 5 into square root of 2 is 2 into square root of 2, and all over 4 into square root of 2. So the square root cancels square root, just like saying 2a over 4. The a can cancel themselves. All right, and now 2 cancel itself, 1 comes into 4 2, so it becomes 1 over 2, giving us option B as the correct option. All right, so catch us, see you in the next class. Bye bye.